What if Deku was Dr. Eggman? The season finale, part 1. We start this off in a hero meeting room where All Might, Eraserhead, Endeavor, and Sonic are currently at with Principal Nezu. So as y'all heard, that Tartarus was broken into and several prisoners escaped. Although one of the most concerning prisoners being All for One. I was there to help stop several of the escapees with my friend Knuckles and Tails. We got several of the escapee prisoners, although All for One left before I even got close. There was this big insect-like robot outside. I had to deal with that before I could enter the prison. It constantly was destroying every doorway in the fight, so I wouldn't just go in. If I remember, there was like one or two other people that went in. I couldn't really see them, as I was mostly focusing on the robot outside. Yes, from what we've gathered off the security camera, there were two intruders that helped free All for One. Although we do not know how he escaped the prison, or how the other prisoners escaped, as well as the intruders. The way they escaped is still unknown, but we believe it was Kurogiri's portal quirk from the League of Villains. As Eraser raises his hand, "What is it, Aizawa?" "If it was Kurogiri, we would have known about it. Because isn't he currently with the League of Villains? And last I checked, I thought we had just contained Kurogiri a while ago." "That is true, but we had gotten a report of a spatial anomaly. Unless he managed to use his quirk without anyone knowing, from prison, it must be another quirk user that's able to use a similar power." "Anyway, where are the Chaos Emeralds? I remember handing them over to y'all. You said you were transporting them." Yes. It seems like whatever this Eggman fellow is after, it's those interesting gems. They're currently being transferred to a heavily secured facility. They better not fall into his hand. They're very powerful. They're known as the Chaos Emeralds. They can grant immense power and power machines, but I'm the only one that I know of that can use them. Interesting. So no one else can use them beside yourself? From what I know, yes. But I think this Eggman can harness the Chaos Emeralds into his machines. If he's as smart as he says, anyway. And also, why would he go after them otherwise? You do bring up a valid point, Sonic. As then Tails would enter the room. "Sorry for interrupting, but I thought I might come in and put in my word of what I know." "Ah, your friend Tails. Why are we letting him in here? He's not a hero. Hey, leave Tails alone. After all, he did help y'all out with finding out who hacked your security system. As well as fixing some of your, machines here. And don't forget, I found out who the people were that managed to infiltrate the prison." "You did?" "Yes. As he managed to get some of the security cameras that were damaged by Fred and the intruders. So, who broke into your prison was Sting. From what I know, which is very little about, he was a formerly American Special Forces agent, I believe, until arrested due to intel or murdering one of his own team members. A lot of data has been corrupted on his files, so I couldn't really get much off of it." "Interesting. What about the other person?" "Well, the other two is known as, I don't know what that purple thing is, to be fair. But what I heard over the audio was Fred. Fred. That's all I got, unfortunately. They also put Knuckles in a cell." "Wait, that thing threw Knuckles in a cell?" "Yeah, you were there." "Yeah, that still was the funniest thing ever." "What, because Knuckles would kept beating on the door while I was trying to open it?" "Yeah." "And who was the last one?" "The last one was known as, I believe, Sarah. She is a relative of Spitter from the League of Villains. I didn't know All for One had another member in the League. I agree, but you cannot be too knowledgeable. They always have new people joining in. Villains like to team up. And with the machines, Eggman definitely is involved with the League of Villains. We need to bring him in. There's a problem about that, All Might. We don't even know where he is. He sends his machines and is obviously controlling them from a certain location. Although it's very concerning that some of these machines and blueprints are similar to the Dr. Ivo Robotnik from Island who died a while back. Wait a minute. As Sonic would stop, there was a person that made machines on Island. He was a tech and machine expert. His name was Ivo Robotnik, I believe. He might have gone by another name, but I don't know. I was the last person to really see him use his inventions there on Island. His last invention went rogue, ended up killing him, unfortunately. So we don't really know what happened to all of his technology, as it destroyed all the data as well. Well, if he is smart as you said, he might have had a backup drive, Tails says. A backup drive? Yeah, if he was as smart as you say, and he was able to make these machines, no reasonable scientist would have them on one drive. So it's most likely he had them on a secret drive somewhere. Maybe not even on Island. Maybe he had a place to send his research. That could be possible. Do you think this Dr. Robotnik is related? He does share similar traits with Ivo, but I couldn't say for certain he was. It's possible that this Dr. Robotnik is possibly a relative, maybe? This Eggman is a relative? Or it could be someone that found his stash of machinery or research. It could be a multitude of things. As silently a call would be moving forward or be heard. Excuse me one moment. Hello, this is Nezu speaking. Nezu, where are the heroes? What are you talking about? Currently the city's under attack. There are currently 2 robots as a car just got thrown over her head. I'm currently in a meeting with several heroes. And what do you mean the city's under attack? As everyone gets up. They targeted the transporting the Chaos Emeralds. One of them had already gotten away with both Chaos Emeralds. And a flying one, and one of some sort of impounding spikes or something, is currently fighting us. It is me, the Ririko, the Dragon Hero, and Mirako. We'll send heroes right away. You heard her. Everyone, move out! As they would move out and start heading towards the area. But suddenly, Nezu gets a call which All Might, Sonic, Tails, and Aizawa would say as Endeavor would just run out. With any other remaining heroes. Hold up, y'all. Wait, what? As it happened to be a call from, well, you guessed it, the head of defense of Japan. Currently, Japan is surrounded by flying machines, planes and all that, from all angles. How did this happen? I don't know, but this was obviously a way to surround us. This is not just a full-on attack, it's full-on invasion. As Nezu's eyes would widen, as Racer would get up, this was planned. You're right. And I'm guessing it was definitely by Eggman. Yeah. He was waiting for y'all to transport those Chaos Emeralds. I knew I should have gone along. We played right into his hands. Yeah, we did. Better stop those Chaos Emeralds from getting to Dr. Eggman. As All Might would stop. Wait, Sonic, maybe that's what he wants. What are you talking about? Maybe he wants you to go after the Chaos Emeralds and to lure you into a trap. If he has the entirety of Japan surrounded, and he has a few robots attacking the city, he may be laying in wait, setting a trap for you. After all, you've been fighting several of his robots. He would obviously have to think of a countermeasure. I agree with All Might. We don't know much. But even if they weren't being protected and it wasn't a trap, it's too risky. Yes, and certainly the news would cut on. Why is the news cutting on? As it would be showing what's happening as, like, several planes, like robotic ships, flying through the sky. And of course, it was an attack. I should head over there right away. No. We need to find out which ship Dr. Eggman's on. That way, if we find out which ship he's on, we can coordinate an attack on that one ship. And most likely they'll have connections to all the robots in his army. We take down or hack into that control panel of the ship. We could shut off every machine in his army. In that case, everything goes dark. That is a valid plan, but we don't know which ship is his flagship. Or which ship he could be aboard, or if he's on any ship, Tails says. Fortunately, you're right. As then we would cut over towards Rirko and Mirko fighting E-106 and E-120. The flying E-Series robot. As the flying E-Series robot would be flying around shooting at the Dragon Hero, while E-106 was using, well, basically its drills into, like, hitting, trying to hit Mirko, as she would constantly be dodging. As it would swing to the left, as Mirko would jump and try to kick its head, but the head wouldn't move, and she would back off. What are these things made of? My kick barely did anything to its head. As it would swing again, trying to hit Mirko, as the Dragon Hero was constantly trying to chase down the flying E-120 series robot. I don't know, but these things obviously came after us to keep us away while the others got away with the Chaos Emeralds. As she swings her tail at the E-Series robot, as it just simply flies away and dodges, and flies around Mirko, heading towards where Mirko is. As the robot sends a punch once again at Mirko, as Mirko manages to dodge, as suddenly he barely dodges a shot coming from the flying E-Series robot, as then Rirko would just suddenly tackle the robot to the ground. I've got this one! As suddenly the robot that was fighting Mirko would head over to Rirko to try to punch Rirko while holding down the E-Series robot. As Mirko would hit the arm, sending it to trajectory, just missing Rirko's head and hitting the concrete. This thing's obviously trying to keep each other off us. They want us to take us down one by one. They're trying to help each other, too. As suddenly the E-Series robot would then just have its thrusters on full thrust, burning some of the scales. And to melt dragon scales, you gotta have a pretty high temperature, and thrusters, yeah, they can burn a lot of stuff. As Mirko is really trying to hold on through the pain to keep the robot down, as Mirko would then do a lunar kick towards the robot trying to destroy its head. And this would cause the other E-Series robot to jump in front, blocking it with one of its hands, but it getting flinged off from the force of Mirko's attack. As it would try to fight with its other hand, as then several other heroes would come to the scene. As we would go aboard one of the ships on Eggman's side, where we see Clove and Kasha waiting and thinking. Alright, so we're moving in. We should be reaching the center of Japan within a few moments. Sister, it seems everything's going according to Eggman's plan, so far. We've not met many resistance. That's because a lot of the heroes cannot fly, and we're deploying robots to constantly fight them. As long as this ship stays up and our other ships are backing us up, we can deal several damage. We are avoiding the hospitals, correct? Don't worry, I have already ordered all robots to avoid any hospitals or orphanages. Don't worry, sister, I've already ordered that. I know. Do you think Eggman will be looking for possible cure through any medical database? You realize he probably already searched through it twice. You know that. I know. It's not all bad. I know it isn't. I'm actually really strong now I got these pretty much robotic body. As then she would smile, as suddenly she'd get a call. Eggman. As Eggman would appear on screen. Hello, Clove and Kasha. It seems that the first attack is going well. Yes, we've moved in several of the robots, and we deployed E06 and E120 to intercept the heroes and bring the Chaos Emeralds. Good. One will be aboarded your ship. The other one is being dispatched to another ship right now. Remember, I will arrive within a few hours. Just keep them held off at bay until then. Currently, everything is enclosed. And what's my current plan to get rid of All for One is complete. Then the real battle begins. The next major threat is going to be Shigaraki. After that, it will be Sonic. I'm already coming up with a thorough plan to get rid of him. And currently my device is almost at full charge. By the time I get it there, I'll be able to test it. Anyway, have the Tails doll, as I remember, head aboard your ship. Also fight any heroes that will take that ship down. I can't risk this ship going down and them getting their hands on the Chaos Emerald. That's why I deployed 2 robots to your location. 2 of them are both aboard your ship, being the Tails doll and Epsilon. Also keep up the good work. By the progress y'all are making, about a quarter of Japan shall be in ruin within the hour. As Eggman would end the call, it seems like the plan is going off without a hitch so far. Don't say that, sister. After all, we still have a lot to go. Come on, sister, you don't have to worry so much. Although I really hope Ellie doesn't really get into any of this battles. She's very new to the egg bosses and probably doesn't have as much experience as we do. Don't worry, Eggman had already set her to, one of the lesser sides to where they won't even think of attacking. Especially, it's one of the more defended, but less defended sides. They're gonna have to be dealing with, Griff and Neo, as their troops will be moving in within the hour. By that time, we'll have pretty much ships moving in from every direction. Yeah, as it suddenly, alarms are going off, alerting that heroes are approaching. As suddenly Kasha would call out the Tails doll, Tails doll, get in here! As the Tails doll would walk in, before just sitting there silently. Alright, I will go out to deal with the heroes. Tails doll, you're with me. What should I do? Stay here and make sure all the ships are functioning and the plan goes out on without a hitch. And make sure the Chaos Emeralds doesn't fall into the hero's hand. I will make sure they don't board the ship. As both the Tails doll and Clove would start to leave the room, leaving Kasha alone by herself. As we go outside, as Endeavor and Hawk start to approach the ship. Wow, there's awfully a lot of them. Doesn't matter, as long as we roast the big ship, the rest will follow suit. As they would approach the big ship, as Clove and the Tails doll would already be waiting. As Endeavor and Hawks would land. So, you decide to come out here and face us yourselves. It makes it a lot easier to take down the people controlling this ship. As she would just smile. You realize, I'm not the one controlling this ship. I'm currently one leading the operation of this attack, though. As she would pull out her weapon, as it would turn to a scythe as she swings it around. And my orders were to deal with any heroes that wanted to destroy this ship. And also to make sure you don't get your hands on the Chaos Emerald. Courtesy of Dr. Eggman. So you work for him. As Hawks would say something, then you might as well tell us where he is. The doctor will be here, but not yet. The doctor will be here, but not yet? He's currently on his way with several more ships. You'll know it when you see it. As the Tails doll would then just jump and punch Hawks away, as Endeavor would send several fireballs at Clove, as she would start dodging left and right, swinging her scythe upward, blocking a fireball that Endeavor sent, splitting it in half, as she would move in, trying to get close to Endeavor, as he would constantly backing up, noticing that she's a close fighter. As then he would use his, spider threads sending several lines of fire towards her. As she would spin her scythe around, cutting all of the fire strings, getting close to Endeavor. Endeavor would then throw a punch, as Clove would simply dodge and try to swing her scythe upward, as then Endeavor would quickly use a flame kick to dodge, as she would barely be able to just slide back a little bit, as Endeavor would throw a punch, noticing that she's off guard, as she would just drop her scythe for a moment and then punch Endeavor in the face, sending him flying back, as her hand was a little burnt from the fire around Endeavor's face, but she just shakes her hand off before grabbing her weapon again. You'll have to try better than that, as she would rush at Endeavor once more to swing her scythe, as Endeavor would then also rush, sending several fire blasts at her. As she would swing her energy scythe, as she would be slicing through the fire again, this time cutting Endeavor's chest just a little, as he backs up. You'll pay for that, as he sends the multiple fire at several directions towards her, and then rushes to throw a punch. As then several of the cannons would then immediately open fire on Endeavor. As she would look back, so I guess my sister is helping after all. As we cut to Hawks, who's currently fighting with the Tails doll. As they would be fighting in the air, as the Tails doll is using its tails to fly. As the Tails doll constantly tries to touch Hawks to try to use Overhaul's quirk. As Hawks would dodge and start using his speed to cut the Tails doll, barely managing to cut through its armor, but making progress, as he manages to cut off one of the Tails doll's tails, causing him flying down onto one of the other ships. As the Tails doll would touch the ship, as a piece of the ship would just repair itself into the Tails doll. As this would surprise Hawks, as he starts to back up, as then the Tails doll turns the literal ship he was standing on into several long spikes, sending him all at Hawks at once, as he's quickly trying to dodge. As he would eventually dodge the last one, he would get punched by the Tails doll. As Hawks would be using his speed to try to outlast the Tails doll. What is this thing made of? As he's currently flying around the ships with the Tails doll following in pursuit. As the Tails doll would just open a hole into the ship and send several spikes, basically using his own ships as literal weapons to try to hit Hawks. As we go to Clove, who's currently in the control room. Why are we losing ships? As then she knows that the Tails doll is using their own ships as ammunition. As then a voice will be heard from the main ship. Tails doll, stop using our own ships as ammunition. We've not deployed all units yet. As the Tails doll would stop for a moment, and Hawks takes the advantage to fly towards the Tails doll and try to, cut it in half. As the Tails doll would put its hand out before it devours the blade saw, the feather sword. As the Tails doll would then go to punch Hawks, but then he would just die before sending several feathers into its head. And then make another feather sword before decapitating the Tails doll, revealing its small form. As it goes over to cut the Tails doll, that suddenly a cannon would shoot his back, as the Tails doll would just seemingly fall to the ground, all the way down to the street. As then we would go back to Clove, who's currently still fighting Endeavor, as the main ship has taken several damage by Endeavor's attacks, sending multiple fireballs, and with Clove cutting them in half, they're hitting the ship. One of the wings is damaged. Several of the other ships in the area are currently on fire. As we go to Kasha, who's currently in the main control room of the ship. Gosh darn it! It's gonna be really hard to keep this thing in the air if they keep fighting like that. As Epsilon would then walk into the room. Epsilon, give me all the reports of what's damaged on the ship. Currently, both left and right wings are damaged. And currently, the main front of the ship is on fire due to the battle pursuing with your sister and Endeavor. I cannot show the feedback because all of the current surrounding ships surveilling have been either damaged or currently are in a widespread position to keep the position secure because of what Tails doll did. Why did the Tails doll had to use our own ships as ammunition? I understand how it's important to get rid of the top 10 heroes, but still, We need those to keep our position secure. As we would go to Eggman, who's currently watching the scenario. At this rate, Clove Akasha's ship will hit the ground. Who's in the area? Ah, yes. Give him a call immediately, Orbot. But sir, I said give him a call. That ship will be going down, and we have some valuable items on that ship I'd prefer not to lose. He's in the area, you'll get them, and they will be secure. Whatever you say, sir. I'll give him a call immediately. Back to Kasha. As Kasha is currently going through everything to keep the ship afloat, as basically the whole front of the ship is on fire at this point, between the Battle of Clove and Endeavor. At this rate, we'll hit the ground. Epsilon, where's the Chaos Emerald? Currently being transported to the front of the ship. Bring it here, to the main control room, not the front of the ship. If it gets transported to the front of the ship, to the weapons, it will be lost in the fight with Endeavor and Clove. Basically, half the ship's on fire. We'll be lucky enough we're still in the air in 20 or 30 minutes. You're gonna have to prepare an escape route. If this fight gets any worse, we're gonna have to abandon ship. Literally. As she's constantly going over, pressing buttons, giving orders to, like, every Eggbot, as she is basically putting everything in full evacuation protocol. She knows the ship is going down sooner or later, and she's getting all the major supplies, everything off the ship before it crashes. So the Chaos Emerald is being moved to the front of the ship, to the control room of the ship, where Kasha and Epsilon are. Ma'am, I recommend we leave. Not until we get the Chaos Emerald. Then we'll abandon ship, but we need that up here first. But ma'am, the ship's already on fire. Ma'am, currently, we have a problem. What is it? Robots transporting the Chaos Emerald are currently blocked off by the fire. Come on, Epsilon, we need to go get that Chaos Emerald. As they would rush towards the area where the robots have the Chaos Emerald that's engulfed in flames, by the way. As they would be rushing as Epsilon would break some of the fiery debris, moving towards the robots with the Chaos Emerald. As they would start to move off, as then the flames would increase, started to burn. As Kasha would then quickly grab the Chaos Emerald before they get to the other side of the ship, as suddenly the ship would engulf in flames the area that they were at. Come on, we need to head back to the control room. Gotta keep this thing in the air. As they would head back to the control room, we now go back to Battle of Clove and Endeavor. As Clove would then swing her scythe once more, cutting Endeavor's shoulder. As she's sweating a little bit. As so is Endeavor. Fine, you won't make this easy? As he prepares a large flame attack, preparing to shoot it at, Clove, as hawks would fly nearby and hang towards Kasha as well. I guess I'll have to try and use this. As she pulls out the syringe that Eggman gave her, before injecting it into her arm. As Hawks would notice this, as he would rush forward with his sword, as suddenly Clove would simply just grab Hawks, putting him in front as Endeavor said that huge fire attack, burning Hawks' wings and his back severely, burning, giving third-degree burns. As Clove's strength just increased by just the injection of that serum. As she would be more agile, faster, as she would rush behind Endeavor before punching Endeavor with her fist, sending him flying literally into a corridor of the ship and straight out the other side, sending him to the street. As she pays her attention towards Hawks. Time for you. As he would go to throw a punch, as suddenly she would feel immense pain. What's this? As that she would remember, I don't really know the side effects of what this will do. But you'll gain immense power. Use it wisely. As this moment of hesitation caused Hawks to try to punch her, sending her flying a bit. As she would get back up, as Endeavor is currently mad and just sent a huge primordial burn to the front of the ship. As, of course, this would also hit Hawks, but He's fine. They're on the top of the ship. It melts through the bottom 2 layers, and the top layer what keeps them alive. But now, the back of the ship is currently now hurtling towards the city. Not your best move, Endeavor. As the back of the ship would constantly hit and just demolish literally half the city. Plus, the falling debris, you're having friendly fire and enemy fire. I honestly couldn't. The casualties are high. As Clove gets up from the debris, as she's tired, but Endeavor comes flying in with, vengeance, wanting to get rid of Clove for, basically sending him through a ship. As Clove would basically just rush towards Endeavor and hit him in the face, sending him flying, but Endeavor would just basically start throwing punches. At this point, the fire is doing barely any damage because the durability of her just went sky high through the roof because of, the drug. Quick flashback. If you don't know, in Clove's backstory, she was introduced to a quirk-enhancing drug, which enhanced her physical power, stamina, and all senses. This is a more potent version that Eggman cooked up for her in case for emergencies. As she's constantly just beating down on Endeavor, not in the right strain of mind currently, probably due to some of the side effects to the drug. As she would just constantly be hitting Endeavor. As then she would just remember Kasha was on that ship. Kasha! As suddenly, as she turns back, she gets punched as All Might had arrived on the scene, basically knocking her out. But Clove would get up and then throw a punch at All Might, surprising All Might, sending him flying backwards. I need to find my sister. As she would run towards the rubble, as several other heroes would arrive, as Sonic would run up and punch Clove, sending her falling and flying backwards. As she would just hide behind some rubble. As she struggles to stand, as several Eggman robots would come to her aid, start fighting the heroes. As she would go get up, and just as several heroes came towards her, she would simply just hit them away. One right punch, one left punch, kicking one straight through steel metal of one of the plates of the ship that were on the ground. As she would be trying to make it towards the back area of the ship, as suddenly one of the robots would just grab her. What's going on? As then silently, Clove took more damage than she realized as she suddenly passes out in the robot's arm. As then the robot would slowly back away, disappearing with Clove. As we go back to Eggman. Clove is currently MIA, sir. I have no idea where she is. Oh well. We'll have to find a rescue attempt for her later. Plan B. Sting, you in position? Yes, sir. Good. Let's move on to the next phase. Sir, did you anticipate that Clove and Kasha were gonna fail? Of course, but I don't have to worry now that he's went to go grab Kasha and the Chaos Emerald. Is Epsilon still online? Epsilon is still functional and is currently with Kasha. Good. Now let's wait until the next call. Which was that? Contacting All for One soon. And that's the end of part 1 of What If Deku Was Dr. Eggman season finale. Make sure to like and subscribe